Okay, now I've really gone through a lot of what I went through personally in growing up, but looking back at when we first moved to Massachusetts in 1941, you know, that's the year that the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. And for a kid, I mean, I guess even for adults, it was kind of scary. I'm trying to relate how it felt being at war when, today we look at war as happening someplace else. But the Second World War, you didn't know because you had the Germans, you had the Japanese fighting you. There was, German U-boats were off the coast of both coasts of the United States. Japanese were off the coast of the West Coast. I mean, German boats were off the East Coast, and you didn't really know what was going on. So a lot of things were put in place that was kind of scary. For especially for a kid. You're 6, 7, 8 years old, and what happened was the way life changed for us was that you didn't have the luxury of buying things in the open market. You had rationing on everything, from butter to gasoline, and even your everyday life was affected by. At night, you couldn't have lights. Your windows could not be open with lights shining out of them. You had curtains like blackout curtains. Your car headlights had half of them were the top half were painted black, the bottom half. So if an airplane was going by, they couldn't look down and see headlights going around. And the air raid warnings would go off. That paper mill had a big old siren that would go off. They used the same siren for noontime whistle, and then also for the fire alarms. But then at night they'd have these air raid warnings or drills, I guess you'd call them. And the siren would go off. You got to run in the house, turn all the lights off, and the air raid wardens would patrol the neighborhood. If they saw a light in your house, you could be arrested. I mean, that serious. In fact, there was a during the day they had been doing some work on the sewers and the sewer lines in the streets. It's at this little town like 1,200 people, so Main Street was like one main street, and maybe had like 2 or 3 little side branches off it. And they're working on the sewer lines. They had it dug up with a backhoe, and there was big piles of dirt along the whole street. And so a car would drive into the ditch at night. They'd put those kerosene lanterns along the top of the ditch. And my aunt lived had to cross this little wooden bridge to get to my aunt's house across this brook. And you come back at night, and you'd be crossing their bridge, and you'd be walk up where these lanterns were burning. If an airplane went by, we're not talking jets, we're talking propeller-driven airplane. Well, they might be going by as going into an airport, not too far, but you could hear them high, but you hear an airplane, and you send a chill up your spine, like, is that an airplane, ours or something else? So as a kid, you didn't really know that. And rationing, like, we had to drive that little town down from Russell to Westfield, Massachusetts, 8 miles. Of course, gasoline was hard to come by. You had a rationing. You had so many gallons a month. That's all you got. You go buy gas. You paid cash, and you sent the stamps. If you had 50 cents in stamps, you paid a half a dollar and 2 stamps, right? And then you had to use that gas to drive to Westfield, 8 miles away, to buy other things like groceries. If you wanted butter, or even peanut butter, they had one store in the center of town that was called Ames, A-M-E-S, Ames Butter Store. They had, different things in there like jellies and jams and things like that. But butter. And you were allowed so much butter a month, and you had a coupon for that butter. You stand in line the line be up and down, be out halfway down the block, and go get your pound of butter for the month, right? And you want to buy peanut butter, you didn't get a peanut butter in a glass jar. They have these little paper, like a paper cup, about the size of a pint. They scoop it in there, weigh it, give you a pound of peanut butter. And that was, meat and milk and all that stuff was just all rationed. Kind of crazy time to go through. But that's what you had to do in the time of war, you know. It's I mean, today you look at war with a different aspect. You think, well, it's not here. You ain't got to worry about it. Although now we worry about terrorism, not so much that. That's not any better. That's just as bad as war. You know where it's going to happen. But kind of like it, when you grow up like that, and you go through after the war ended. Of course, everything celebrations. The guys all come back from war, and I had two uncles that were over. I had three uncles that were over in Germany during the war, and they never talk about their experiences. Never talk about it, you know. And my favorite uncle was my Uncle Jack, and he never mentioned. I mean, I used to go to a guy drinking once in a while, or anytime I used to be with a guy all the time, and he's around. I'd love to be with a guy, big old smile on his face all the time. He would never talk about his wartime experiences, and he told his wife one time a story, and when he passed away, at his funeral, she told me the story. He was in Germany during the war, and he had a town. They were trying to take this town. They're on a bridge going into town, and they get mowed down. They got mowed down, a whole bunch of them. He's laying with dead people on him, and the Germans coming across the bridge with bayonets and the pistols. Anything moved, they shot it or stabbed it. And he got a dead person laying on top of him. And he said the guy was about 5 feet away, a German guy. And he could hear the commander talking to the guy in German. And they all went back. They drew him back for some reason. He said if they had waited 2 more minutes, he said he would have got, you know, crazy. I never talked about it. That's our heroes, right? Like your grandpa, you know. Never talked about it to anybody. But we'll take a break and come back to this later, okay?